brought, as you all have seen today, Pure Sun Defense, which I have not been the best at using sunscreen.
No, she's not. We travel together.
But now I will
Even
be. Even now.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I'm an idiot. I don't know. I have enough other problems.
I get it. No, I'm not being judgmental. Is it because you're like, I want tan, I want to feel...
You want tan?
Yeah, it's all right.
But it's so stupid.
Yes, it is. Because you can get tan still with the sunblock.
You haven't had any skin cancers, nothing like that, right?
Well, I won't anymore.
Good. So, in the last 18 months, so I'm just going to jump straight in, because I was exactly the same. I grew up in Australia, never wore sunscreen. I remember the rule about not swimming in your pool 30 minutes after eating at lunch. That was so strict. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I still do that for some stupid reason.
And it means absolutely nothing.
I
You're
know.
going to drown, your life is over. Okay, that was
You're
important.
cramps, you're going to crawl.
But
Right.
no one ever told me to wear sunscreen. And we were at the beach, we were in Australia, which we now discovered with the ozone layer is very dangerous. So 1 in 3 Aussies will get skin cancer.
1 in 3.
In America, right now, it's 1 in 5 kids will have skin cancer. If they don't wear sunscreen, it goes up to 1 in 2.
Wow.
So 50% of kids who don't wear sunscreen are getting skin cancer. Now, I am one of the, and most skin cancers appear 20, 30 years later. So in the last 18 months, I've had 4 skin cancers, 1 on my shoulder, 3 on my nose, and I don't know how much detail you want. There are 3 different levels of skin cancer, and also the one that I had, basal cell carcinoma, is the most, it's the one you want.
Yeah.
Okay, no one has ever
My mom
died.
had that, and she grew up in Florida, so this sounds very familiar, your story and my mom's story.
And it's, look, it's going to be one of the fastest growing cancers around. And the only way really to stop it is wearing sunscreen, trying to be smart about when you stay in the sun. I want to be in the sun too. I want to swim, I want to be in the ocean, but try and stay out of the sun in the middle of the day. But now, I can tell you right now, even when I was wearing sunscreen for the last 10 years, if I went on a holiday, I was still like, I want a bit of colour. Because it's so ingrained, like, colour means you feel healthy, look good, feel good. If you go on a holiday, you come back without a tan, you didn't have a holiday, all those ideas. Now, trust me, now I'm like, no way, because all you have to do is 1 of these surgeries, let alone 4 of these surgeries, to realise it is not worth it. And thank goodness for people like Nicole Kidman, you know, who, by the way, when she was young, growing up in Australia, she said she was teased so much for her skin. She's the best skin of anyone you have ever seen. She used to have an umbrella as a kid in Australia if she was in the sun. And, you know, so if you want to have good skin, and now it's kind of getting cooler, thank goodness, it's cooler not to smoke, and it's cooler not to have a tan, which is great. But our generation, I don't want to...
and pale. No, I'm kidding.
So Chris Clark is here, my mate from Australia. Chris and I both have a personal story. I hope you don't mind me telling you this, but Chris's father died of skin cancer. I obviously suffered skin cancer, and I know we'll have many more, because at age 46, I've had 4 in a year. The doctor says you'll have more to come. That's from past sins, not now. So we just wanted to find a way to make a difference, because sunscreen, people know to use it, but as a market, as a category, it's very flat. It's not really growing. The rate of skin cancer is growing, so we thought, how to do that? And I got kids, obviously you guys all have kids. It's so hard. When was the last time you saw a kid holding sunscreen like that? Never. Oh, got my copper tone. Oh, got my banana boat. Don't take it off me. And the same thing we did with dental care when we grew up, brushing your teeth. Now kids, oh, I got my Disney princess thing. And it's a simple idea, but if you can keep kids engaged, even for a minute, while you're putting sunscreen on, because you know how hard it is. The kids are literally, you're grabbing them by one arm, you're trying to put it on, and if you can just hold them still for a minute, have them interested in it, then they will set up a lifetime of good habits. That wearing sunscreen will be the same as, you know, brushing your teeth. It'll be cool and it's fine, it's part of life. That's my basic story.
And do you talk to your kids about it? You're open and honest with them, and so now are they like lathering up all the time?
They do, I think, like all kids. It's like, it's not going to happen to me, it's just a pain, I don't want to do it.
Well, that's
when
the
they
thing, we
saw
all
me
feel
have
invincible,
and
right?
they saw me have the operations, and they, you know, kids, can we have a look at the scar? And then they see what happens when they cut it out of your skin. And now they're like with me, out of the sun, Dad, you're ready to get out of the sun, put your hat on, and now they put it on easily, there's no problem. And they love it, we have this at home and they love it, and that's my one. No, I'm in the event. My son's on the Avengers, my daughter's Frozen.
Did you guys see all the characters?
Don't eat it.
But don't eat it.
Don't eat it.
No, don't eat it.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the myths
Thanks, Beth.
that people...
Oh, okay.
There's so many myths, though, about like what Denise was saying. I'm invincible, or I get tan, so I'm not going to get skin cancer.
Oh, yeah.
Why is there not enough education now, thanks to you, there is, about that whole sort of scenario? Like people who lay out there and get so tan. I mean, they're so susceptible to skin cancer too.
Yeah, we are really behind on education.
Yes.
I mean, in Australia, it's a long way ahead. We had the highest rate per capita of melanoma because of the ozone layer. It's a lot. The sun is a lot stronger there. We now have the fastest decreasing rate of melanoma or skin cancer because of education. So here's the thing: in Australia now, it is law at school that a kid cannot go out on the playground without a hat, and not only just a hat, the hat has to have that kind of Lawrence of Arabia draping down the neck.
Really?
So-
Wow. See, and here, by the way, hats are not allowed in schools, you know, but I guess there's a different purpose, right, for going outside.
Right.
And
So they have to put their
outside.
cap off,
Right.
and it's so easy. It's part of life in Australia. Kids just put it on, they go out and play. But
Right.
it's seen as illegal, and it should be, because as a teacher, you let your kid go out for 30 minutes in the heat in the middle of the day to play in the sun, they're going to get skin damage. So just put on a hat. It's little things like that that have made a massive
And these are
difference.
things that as parents, we really need to drill into our heads. Like my kids
Yeah.
go to camp, and so before they go to camp every morning, I put the sunscreen on because
Right.
it's drilled in my head. But if we're out all day
Gotta
just on
reapply.
a playground, you don't think to do it.
You've got to reapply.
Right.
And there's two other interesting things I want to mention. What do you guys think the number one barrier is for most people wearing sunscreen? Why do most people not wear sunscreen?
It feels yucky.
Feels yucky?
It smells bad.
It's greasy.
Smells bad?
Thick.
What's that?
It's greasy.
Thick?
Greasy.
Wrong. The number one reason for most people in America is price. They consider it, because they didn't grow up buying it, they consider it a luxury thing. If I have a bit of extra money, I buy sunscreen. That's why we wanted to team up. We teamed up with Walmart, because I thought, I want people have to wear it, but I don't want them to be thinking, I can't afford it. You can't afford not to, but I get it. As a student, when I was a student, I didn't earn money until I was 26, so I was a student for 7 years acting and all that. I was eating before I wore sunscreen. There was no way I was spending whatever. So
And
this
these are
is
affordable.
it's $5.98 for the $5.98
That is
at
very
Walmart,
affordable.
because I don't want anyone going, I can't afford it. We've got to keep the price down, and no offense to other products, but there's some who use the name or it's this, and it's so expensive, and fair
It's
play to them,
sometimes
but
$15 a bottle.
It is.
right.
I know it is. I
So-
sometimes don't buy it.
There you go.
No,
But
but I
you
get
didn't
it.
realize it, by the way.
I'm like, I'll use the old one. Talk to us a little bit. Do you know anything about like when sunscreens expire? I mean, is it really, is that?
Good question. I actually don't know. Does
Okay,
anyone know that one?
sorry. It
What
says
does
it on the
say
bottom. I mean, it says
It's saying on the
it.
bottom.
I think
It's
it's
the
like a
same
year
as
or
any
two.
Do they still
lotion.
work?
But there are some things
When in doubt, just spray it on
that
anyways.
is ice.
Or to tell a story on this,
Okay.
they lose their power as they get older. And so it's advised that every year you get rid of it, because people keep them in the beach bag.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And then they say, oh, that's from last year.
Oh, yeah, I've
Get
done that.
rid of it, and I advise
And you
everyone
pour it
to
out,
buy
and the
all
oil
this.
comes
It's
out, then
I
it's
know,
spraying
it's
it.
going-
Well, with $5.99, you can get
Yeah,
another one
but
right away. You
they're
can
right,
get
and
two.
even with your makeup, get rid of it.
You know, the other thing, there's a few things you've got to remember about sunscreen. It's got to be broad spectrum. If your kid's going in the water, which of course they all are for summer, it's got to be water resistant. UV, and ours is tested by pediatricians, dermatologists. So you just got to know that there is a level of quality that's not going to hurt their skin, hypoallergenic. And that's our product I put on my kids. So even though it's $5.98 at Walmart, I still put it on my kids, and we're very important to Chris and I. We created something that would be safe for their skin.
And your wife discovered this, correct? Is that right? Like, you
Yeah.
thought it was a fight injury from on the set, am I right?
Yeah, so I had this little spot of blood on my nose, and I thought, I've done it during the fight sequence.
Yeah.
And it was actually my makeup artist who was, whilst I was doing an X-Men film, she said, what's that? And I said, I think I did it during rehearsals. And then, you know how you get a little blood and then you have a shower and you might take off the scale. I kept thinking it kept coming back, and I thought it was because of that. And she said, I don't know, I think you should get it checked. And I casually said this to my wife. You cannot casually say to your wife, someone said I should get this checked because there may be cancer. Get it checked. I go, yeah, well, no, get it checked. I said, all right, babe, no, I will. Like 20 minutes later, have you got it checked? I'm like, so the next day I went and got it checked, and wives are always right, right?
Now, this is our third event with you. We're very thank you for your support with the moms and with all the moms in the room.
I love what you guys do. I love where it came from, why it started, and for me, it's power to the people, power to the mums, and I think it's great. And
It's really, yeah, I might. It really is just so amazing to have your support. And usually, what I was going to say is we've had you because you're promoting films, and now obviously this is such an important cause. So how different is that for you to be talking about something that is so personal?
It's very different because as much as I like to think my job is going to save lives, it's not. So, but this will save lives. I mean, for kids like that, for my kids, and because, I mean, we can all say something to happen to my kid, but if you're not wearing sunscreen, 1 in 2 kids today are getting cancer. And I'm 46, so my immune system is relatively intact. I've still got 4 in a year. What happens as you get older, the reason they appear later is as the cancer's there, but your immune system's fighting it. So my mother-in-law right now is 80. She's red-haired, freckles. Did the classic thing of she couldn't get a tan. She was just hoping the freckles would match up one day and she'd get oil, aluminum foil under the face on the beach. She every 4 to 6 weeks has to go and get melanomas cut off. Wow. Because she's getting older, her immune system's going down, and that's really common. So it feels very different, to be honest. And I'm really, really grateful to you all for having me in. There's one other little thing I wanted to mention, that Chris and I,
everyone met Chris, just so you know. We spoke to Chris before.
He's an awesome guy. We have a few things we're doing together, and this one is most important to us. And we always give back in our way, and the way, once we establish this company, the way we've talked about giving back is, I think, in Australia we'd have cricket kit. Here, baseball team would have a kit, right, with the bats. How could you have a kit with bats and balls and gloves without a thing of sunscreen in it? How could you send kids out for 3 hours in the sun without sunscreen? So every bag, every kit, I think at schools, as they go out on the playground, should be one of the big pump packs.
Right, instead of like the hand sanitizer.
Line up,
right, with it, right?
Pump, face, go play, if it's not going to be the hat. So that's
we're going to get every mom in here to start a movement at their school.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love that.
Right. You need the moms, you need mom captains.
And the good news, no one ever needs to die of skin cancer, ever. It is the most curable type of cancer. It's all to do with detection and spotting it early. No matter what, melanoma, basal cell, squamous, if you get it early, it's pretty much always treatable. So keep an eye on yourself. If anyone here is my sort of age bracket, mid-40s, get checked up.
I think so.
And if you don't want to go to a dermatologist, if you're going to a dermatologist, at the end say, can you just give me a check? If you go to a GP for anything, no matter what, you've got a sore throat, say, by the way, can you just give me a check? That's all, because they're hard to spot.